Today is the 11th May 2026. I'm again doing my practice of overcoming my hesitation and my fears involved with producing YouTube videos. I'm focusing on how it feels to talk about a specific topic. Yesterday I took a break of this practice to see how it would be to restart it, to get back to it today. And so far it was not really an issue. So the topic of the day will be the Star Wars, the Clone Wars animated series. The Clone Wars is probably one of the best animated series of Star Wars. It's also the first one and the oldest. It's also the longest one with 7 seasons and around 20 episodes per season. I was really confused when I found out that the Clone Wars series actually starts with a movie at the beginning, like an animated The Clone Wars movie. I watched the whole Clone Wars series multiple times before I found out that there's actually a starting movie that introduces the series and the story plot. Star Wars The Clone Wars is one of my comfort shows. I tend to rewatch it, at least in parts. I mean, at this time I don't really watch it at the whole. First, there are just some story arcs that I don't like as much as others, so a lot of times I just skip them. There are also some seasons that I don't like as much as others, so most of the time I just pick a few episodes or a few seasons and rewatch them kind of every few months at this point. Probably a little bit too much even to like enjoy rewatching them a lot, but it's just one of my comfort shows when I just need to watch something and I don't feel like watching something new, which have a lot of the time that is the case. I fall back to watching the Clone Wars or some of the other shows that are my comfort shows. What I really like, I really like the Clone Wars show, not just because well, my favorite parts of Star Wars are actually the prequel era, are the Clone Wars, are the Jedi at that point, is the rise of the Sith in that era. That's currently my favorite part of Star Wars. It's a big part of I watched the prequels as a child when they came out in cinema. So those were my Star Wars movies. So oftentimes I really prefer that era above the others. And yeah, in many ways that also means because of that reason I like the Clone Wars show a lot more. The Clone Wars show also introduces one of my favorite characters, Ahsoka Tano, the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker. Has a really amazing character arc and story in the Clone Wars series, and it adds to Anakin and his good parts and also adds to his fall. The Clone Wars series does a really good job about showing a lot more of the details in Clone Wars. It gives us a lot better picture of Anakin between episode 2 and episode 3. And it especially introduces us a lot closer to the clones, which after that show I'm quite a big fan of. Yeah, talking today is a little bit more difficult. I have a little bit more uncertainty and fear in my days right now. And something makes it talking or not losing my thought, my track of thoughts a little bit more difficult right now. So what are a few of my favorite arcs in the Clone Wars series? But one that comes to my mind is like the Mortis Scott arc with like Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and the Mortis Scots. That was a really surprising and really fascinating arc in the Clone Wars. I would never have imagined that they would put such a part in the Clone Wars series. But that I really like that story arc. Another one that I really like, of course, is like the whole Maul aspect of the Clone Wars, how he comes back, how he makes his criminal empire and his Mandalore story. And especially just the last season at all is really amazing. Like the introduction of the Bad Batch, Ahsoka's story with her new friends, and then the Siege of Mandalore, which I found was really great, seeing the exact parallel to the episode 3. So that I really enjoyed. Others that come to mind, then a lot of the others are a lot more small. So something that I don't like about the Clone Wars series is especially about the first seasons are that they are so unordered in time. Like you have characters that at some point kind of belong to the era or betray us, then they are actually just completely on the good side, then they are dead, and then they are back again. Stuff like that. Where you don't really know like at what time are these things happening. That's I'm not really a fan of this of the very loose story arcs in Clone Wars, where you have no idea, no sense how does it fit into everything else. Especially again, not so much an issue that you just have loose story arcs, but exactly that you have these loose story arcs in time. And with loose, I mean you don't have a sense of what is the time order, where are you actually in like in the timeline of the Clone Wars. My biggest issues thus comes mostly not even from not knowing when are we here in like the time point, so but a lot more for the characters that exactly you have characters where at one point they're dead, then they're living again, stuff like that. It's just really weird watching the Clone Wars from the start to the beginning. I wish there were I mean maybe there's probably on some fan sites online, but I wish there was like a way to watch the whole Clone Wars series actually in chronological order. I think that would be fun to do that. Maybe I should just look for it there, because there probably is some fan outside that actually gives you each episode in what order you would have to watch them if you want them chronologically correct. But so that is one of my biggest issues with the Clone Wars series. Yeah, today I also have a lot more the feeling when I'm talking that kind of I want to have it over. I feel a little bit more discomfort. I think it's difficult to say what I'm feeling. Yeah, 5 seconds. So, time is over. then until I think tomorrow.